Greetings, this is the Pleiadian Collective, and as always, it's a pleasure and an honor to have the opportunity to link up with all of you beautiful universal beings of light in this fashion. We're just going to talk with you a bit right now on the status of your shift, let you know where you're at as far as your aligning with your fifth dimensional chakra systems goes, and as far as aligning with Earth's fifth dimensional chakra system as well. And that's really one of the big shifts that's occurred over the last couple of months for all of you. You went from utilizing your third dimensional chakra system or operating system and aligning with a third dimensional version of Earth to activating your fifth dimensional energetic bodies, expanding into your fifth dimensional chakra systems and aligning yourselves with the fifth dimensional version of Earth. And that's why the transition into 2013 felt particularly challenging to some of you. We saw that a lot of you needed some excessive downtime, some sleep and rest. We saw that a lot of you actually felt rather disappointed or deflated, as if nothing big had actually happened on December 21st of 2012. We saw that for the first few weeks or even the whole month of January, most of you felt uninspired, as if you couldn't link up with a passionate response to anything on the planet. And that's because you were really in the process of detaching from your third dimensional way of life and aligning with a fifth dimensional way of existence or creation. We don't really want to say life any longer because life as you know it is over. Life words, there's certain words that will bring you right back to that third dimensional density and operating system. So we'll say instead existence or your creation, and we'll remind you right now that you are full creator beings. You are no longer using the limited experience of the third dimension and running law of attraction to bring to you your realities. Instead, you have actualized your fifth dimensional chakra systems, and you are now operating off of law of creation as full-on creator beings. Now take a breath and feel the truth of that in your bodies. You'll understand now that we've been giving you information over the last few years, some of which was simply preparatory information. So as much as you tried over the last few years, there were certain things you just could not yet line up with. There were certain things you just couldn't do yet because Earth itself had not transcended its experience and fully aligned with its fifth dimensional state. Okay, take a breath, everyone. We can feel a lot of you trying to run this information through your minds, and we'll remind you in this moment that you've got to run this information through your heart centers, that the mind itself is a filtering device. The third dimensional mind was set up to dismiss or throw out any extraneous data that would tell you you were anywhere but the third dimension. And that's why so many of your, what you might call paranormal or metaphysical experiences seem to happen out of the corners of your eyes or in your peripheral vision. And that's also why a lot of you have experienced having what feels like your memories erased. So many of you on the planet had experiences during this incarnation where you would encounter an extraterrestrial, you would encounter an angelic, you would encounter a fairy, you would time jump, time travel, even teleport yourselves. And then the third dimensional mind would delete the file. Take a breath. This is going to really help a lot of you who've been running the idea that you had your memories altered by some being outside of you, especially when the abduction phenomena comes into play. A lot of you have felt that the ETs themselves were deleting your memories, were erasing your experiences. The truth is, your third dimensional minds were throwing out the data. So it's not that the data was erased or deleted, because many of you have accessed some of those memories now, those memories of earlier childhood, what you've called abduction experiences and scenarios. But also many of you have accessed data more recently about your encounters of just over the last few years. And we've seen a lot of you do this, where you've had these amazing encounters as adults, and then almost immediately you forget them. And you've attributed that forgetting over the last few decades to the ETs themselves. You have said to yourselves, well, those grays, they've wandered around in my mind and erased my memories. Well, the truth is, you've just covered up your own memories. Your third dimensional mind said, nope, that's too much data, too much input. And if I hold on to this memory, if I access too much of this, that's going to open up other parts of my being, and collectively we're not ready for that experience yet. So now that you've transcended that limitation, you're going to find yourself suddenly beginning to access all of these memories, memories that you might have experienced as erased. They haven't been erased. They were simply filtered out into other areas of your consciousness and stored. So we've spoken before about emotional breakdowns and the benefit of the emotional breakdown. The emotional breakdown itself allows you, in the releasing of that emotion, to access stored data. So take a breath and start to feel into yourselves right now. Start to walk around your own minds in this moment and see where the third dimensional filters are dissolving, and allow yourselves to begin to understand your fifth dimensional mind. Now, as you fully install the fifth dimensional mind, and here's the way this happens. This is the only way this can happen. So to install the fifth dimensional mind, first you must stop running everything through your third dimensional mind, which means instead of running through the mind, you begin to run all information, all experience through the heart center. So as you drop into the heart center and allow the third dimensional mind to break down, which a lot of you have experienced this breakdown of the third dimensional mind recently. You can't hold on to time, you can't hold on to certain ideas or memories. You can only, in fact, hold on to what it is you need right in the moment. And that is part of the breakdown of the third dimensional mind, because the third dimensional mind has kept you on linear time. So you kept within your third dimensional memory banks everything you needed to allow you to see that you were living life in a linear fashion, that you had a childhood, that you had an adolescence, that you had a young adulthood, and on and on and on, and you stored your memories in a very linear third dimensional kind of way in your third dimensional mind. Now, as the third dimensional mind is breaking down, you're finding yourself accessing memories simply in the moment when you need to access the memory, and often you cannot remember exactly when it was in your lifetime that event happened. Now, that doesn't mean you can't remember how old you were. It doesn't mean you can't remember where you were. When we say you can't remember exactly when that happened, what we mean to say is, in a very visceral, physical, and real way, you cannot access that memory on a linear timeline any longer. You access it simply as an experience you had at one point in an incarnation. Take a breath, all of you, and start to feel the freedom this gives you to jump around. Suddenly you can move your memories about in this way and start to recreate your identities here, right now, as this version of yourselves. All right, while we're speaking on time, we want to give you one other piece. So you really have left the experience of linear time. But because perspective denotes much of your reality, many of you are still perceiving that you are on a linear line of time. So you're living your lives in this very linear kind of fashion, and that's fine. This evolution out of linear time into a multi-dimensional, a consciousness that accesses multi-dimensional time, this evolution will occur for each of you in the time you best need it to. So we make a little joke there with all of you around time. Even though you are leaving linear time, you will still play with time. Time is not a construct you leave behind in the third dimension. You simply leave behind the line of time in the third dimension. So now that you're moving through time differently, there's a piece of advice we would like to offer you. And that's about the busyness you all undertake, the rate at which you operate. It used to be when you were moving along the line of time, when you felt you had more to get done, when you felt you were busier, you started to move more quickly and to multitask, to be able to fulfill that which you needed to do. And then, when you would create a slower version of reality, you would give yourselves permission to then slow down. Now, what you'll find is when you are feeling busier, if you speed up in the way that you used to, if you move more quickly, if you run from appointment to appointment, if you multitask, what you're going to create is more busyness. The faster you move, the faster the input. And that's all this is. All the things you have to do to get done throughout the day simply begin to view as input. Take a breath and feel the flow between you, what goes on within your own physical space, and what goes on in the energy around you. See all the tasks, all the adventures, all the connections, all the work, all of it now simply as input, as energetic input coming towards you that you are pulling in. As you speed up, watch that input start to come in more quickly. So, when you find yourself feeling overwhelmed by the input that you created in the first place, slow down. Take a breath. You can feel all this right now if you give yourselves permission to work with it in your bodies. As you take a breath and slow down, slow your energy down right now, you will suddenly feel the input in the space around you begin to slow down as well. As you speed up, as you start to move more quickly, you can suddenly feel all the energy in the room around you speeding up as well. And this is where you really begin to understand yourselves as creators. You are no longer reacting to reality around you. In fact, when you find yourself reacting to reality around you, you will simply create exactly the opposite of what it is you think you want to be creating. So we wanted to remind you of these pieces today as you align more and more with your fifth dimensional identities, as you begin to understand the operating system of your fifth dimensional energetic body, your fifth dimensional chakra system, and as you begin to understand the operating system of the fifth dimensional universe. And that's the way we want to talk about it as well. You know, for so long you've perceived your home as Earth. And we've talked about Earth's journey, Earth's experience, and your alignment with Earth. Now you are aligning yourselves with the fifth dimensional version of the universe, which gives you more access, more fun, more play, more time. We love you. We love you. We love you. As always, it is a pleasure to connect with you in this way. Remember that we are here for you anytime you need us.